Hey everyone, I hope y'all are having a great day, and today I'm going to be talking about the Ender's Game movie. So I saw Ender's Game last night with a few of my friends, and overall I thought it was a really good film. I'm going to give you kind of like a summary review, and then I'm going to go more in depth and kind of compare and contrast it to the book and things like that. So yeah, overall I thought it was a really good film. I thought it was pretty faithful to the book. I thought the casting was really well done. I loved Asa Butterfield as Ender. I thought Harrison Ford was a really good Graf. I didn't realize that that was how I pictured Graf until I saw the film, and then I was like, yes, Mr. Ford, yes. All the graphics and all the CGI, the battle room scenes, everything was a bajillion times cooler on screen than it was in my head when I was reading the book. The graduation battle was just so amazing. I think Ender's Game is a really difficult book to portray on screen. It definitely has its advantages and disadvantages. The disadvantages being you can't really grasp everything from the book, like, for example, how this book spans from Ender age 6 to like, he's like 20 something in the end. But yeah, the film can't really capture that. However, all the intergalactic things and the battles in the battle room, everything was so cool on screen, especially in IMAX. So if you're considering seeing Ender's Game, I definitely recommend it, but before you go in the theater, I would recommend reading the book. A few of my friends that I saw it with had not read the book before going to the theater, but they understood it fine. So it's not really mandatory to read the book. It never is, never should be, but I do recommend it nonetheless. And now I'm going to be talking about the movie alongside the book. So let's get started on that. Obviously the biggest difference is that this book spans over like a bajillion years and the film doesn't. And I obviously understand why they chose to do it that way. I would have done it that way. So I appreciate that they still kept Ender a child. Asa Butterfield looked like he was 11 or 12. I understand that he's 16, but he looked young. And that's what matters. It's about children. Children being geniuses. So they kept that. I really enjoyed how they kept most of the central themes from the book in the movie, like Ender's inner turmoil and how he doesn't want to be a killer. And I liked how Ender really wanted to understand his enemies. I liked how they made that an important thing in the movie like it is in the book. I wish that there had been more of the Peter, Valentine, Ender dynamic, because that one scene with the bedroom and the mask, I felt like that wasn't sufficient enough. That was like the only time Peter's character was ever on screen. Speaking of Peter and Valentine somewhat, they completely took out the Locke and Demosthenes plotline about Peter and Valentine becoming these huge political figures online. I understand why they would take that out, because it's not exactly, you know, relevant to Ender and Battle School and what the movie focused on. But I guess I was just kind of surprised that they took it out. I think one of the negatives of the movie, and there aren't many, is I don't like how they portrayed Ender and Petra's relationship, because in the movie it was almost romantic, and it just made me so uncomfortable. I was like, no, no. It's not just me, because one of my friends who hadn't read the book was like, oh, is something gonna happen between them? And we're like, no, that's not okay. Nothing can ever happen. And I'm so glad that they did not kiss or anything like that, but just Petra was there most of the time, and she was like holding his hand when he was on the bed, and I felt like they tried to emphasize their friendship more than any other of Ender's other friendships. Speaking of, I feel like Eli's character was downplayed a little bit, which makes me very sad, because Eli was one of my favorite characters, and in Ender's Game they completely cut out Shen's character. Still, it would have been nice to have Shen in there. They kept in Bernard. Like, really? Did we really have to do that? They introduced Bean right off the bat. I'm not exactly upset with this, but it's not true to the book. However, I'm okay because I love Bean. I love Bean. I love Bean a bajillion times. Bean. I love him. I love him. Have I said that I love him? I love him so much, and I love the kid who played Bean. They took out Rat's army and they made everyone kind of be in Salamander army. Like Dink Meeker is supposed to be in Rat's army, and Ender is supposed to go to Rat's army, and that's where he meets Dink. But Dink was in Salamander. I'm not complaining. It's a long book. They had to condense it for the film. It makes sense. They kind of took out the part where Ender finds out that he actually killed Stilson in the beginning, the guy he kicked in like that weird biology room or something. Because they had to condense it, they took out a few of the other battles. They took out, you know, the game room where Ender whoops butt. They took out a lot of stuff, but I appreciated that they did keep the main parts. I don't know if that affected the flow for people who hadn't read the book, but to me I thought it was alright. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention this, but Major Anderson is a woman? Is it just me? I just assumed that Major Anderson was a male. Maybe, does it say that that Major Anderson is a male in this book? Because that's what I picked up on. I feel like if Major Anderson was a woman, I would have been a lot more aware of that. Maybe they just changed the gender for the movie. I appreciated it nonetheless. I really, really, really didn't like the portrayal of Dap, because Dap is supposed to be like this motherly figure, and he makes like all the Launchies laugh and all the Launchies like him, and I felt like the movie was very off from that. And I think that's all I wanted to mention. I'm not sure. I didn't really think this through. Kind of just turned on the camera and plopped down and started talking. But yeah, overall I would give Ender's Game, I think, 4 out of 5 stars. It was pretty faithful to the book. I liked most of the casting. I thought all the visual effects, CGI graphics, were just so good, and I really appreciated how the filmmakers kept the important themes from the book on the screen. As usual, I will always recommend reading the book before seeing the movie. I feel like you would get a lot more out of the movie that way. But yeah, I really enjoyed watching Ender's Game. I was extremely excited for it, and I really wasn't that disappointed. So that's good. And yeah, goodbye!